Welcome, everyone. Maybe if this is long enough, we'll even use the audio, so you won't be able to see us if it's a podcast. But right now, it's also video, and we are sitting here at the University of Toronto campus. I am Spark the Genius, and I'm here with, how would you like to be called?
My name is Nicole, but my Mandarin Chinese name is Wei-Tung, but everyone calls me Nicole.
All right, we'll go with Nicole. I guess, is that kind of common, like newcomers always sort of pick an English name that's easier for people?
Yes.
Do you like using it, or you're like, I should be called, so what is it, Wei-Ling?
Wei-Tung.
Wei-Tung.
Yeah, so back in Taiwan, people have their children going to English class, English schools, and they help English teachers choose an English name for their students. But my mom chooses my English name because she loves Nicole Kidman, and she's like, oh, I need to have my child, it's called Nicole Kidman, so that's where my name is from.
That's fun. I always wondered how people come up with it, because there's there's a lot of Charlottes and Annes or whatever. So that's nice that it has a meaning to it. I didn't realize it happens like, your teacher says, okay, everybody needs an English name now. That's kind of interesting. And Nicole Kidman, yes. Do you like her acting as well?
Yeah, she's an amazing actress. I'm glad to have Nicole because I have friends called Mango, Cherry, and they changed their name back to normal names.
Mango?
Yeah, Mango.
That was the name they chose for their English name?
Yes, exactly.
Did they know what that meant, or they were just?
Well, they're just kids. They're 3 or 5 years old, and they don't know what mangoes actually.
Oh, so they just picked it themselves, like, I'm a mango.
Yeah, Mango, and then they call it Mango on their passport.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's not a bad name, actually. I would like a more, well, that's why I'm calling myself Spark. It's like, more unique name than just a regular boring name. So maybe we'll come up with a new name for you. Well, you like Nicole for now.
I love Nicole.
All right, then you're Nicole, and maybe I'll be Mango. I think Mango was actually a name, it was like a Saturday Night Live skit a long time ago, and it was like a male stripper who was named Mango or something. Yeah, so fun name. And so Nicole is here. She is a U of T student, and we are here in this in your college, and this is like a library with books. She was showing me there's books from, I don't know, I opened one, it said 1857. I'm like, what? So I'm glad to see people haven't destroyed the books, because some jerk could just come in and go, I'm just going to throw these books around. I'm like,
they have some super strong keeping with those books from 18th century, 19th century. We have a big library in Robarts Library down the streets. Yeah. They have older books and also manuscripts from 10th century, 7th century. They have a really strong gatekeeping from students, destroying those books and stuff.
Oh, that's good. That's good, because you can tell this is an old. I mean, not only are those books old, but there's a pencil sharpener over there, and that's. I don't think a lot of people are sharpening their pencils these days. Yes. This is so cool. So, do you you were telling me that's medieval? Actually, we should give us a quick intro about you, so people are like, why are we doing this conversation? So you are new from. You just got here a couple months ago from Taiwan, and you're like a first-year university student, and you got into school in Chicago. We decided to come in Toronto, and did you come for? And well, you're also like this big activist. You're running all these programs and stuff. Like what's a summary of you?
Yes, sure. So I just came to Canada 2 months ago. I was an activist, journalism, and a social entrepreneur. Back in Taiwan, I have over 10 organizations. I help people on issues of anti-racism issues, as well as media issues, journalism awareness, and all these different issues, as well as human rights violations. I've also worked on I know there's a warfare broke down in 2022, the Russian-Ukraine warfare. We also started an organization called Taiwan Stands with Ukraine. We help donations to Ukrainians and support Ukrainians in Taiwan, as well as around the world. There's small businesses and all these events in Taiwan. So that's a little bit about me. I'm also looking forward to do all these finance technology, startups, and also do research for that. And political parties and stuff. So that is a little bit about me.
Oh, so you're not doing too much. That's crazy. It sounds like we could just do a regular show and every week talking about something different that you're working on. You can teach me how to get into crypto. And I didn't know you were working with Ukrainians. That's cool. I met a bunch in Ottawa recently, and trying to help them out. Maybe I can connect you with them. And,
sure, definitely.
I went to an event recently, and it turned to be a Ukrainian poetry reading, and I couldn't understand anything that was being said, so I feel like I need to learn some Ukrainian. What was I going to say? Oh, so you're saying there's Ukrainians in Taiwan, so people go in there as well, like refugees?
Yes. So one thing is really interesting is when the war broke down, there was a group of Ukrainians as well as Eastern Europeans. They gathered together as a community and started a rally, but it was really disorganized. And me and my friend is a really popular, famous co-founder of several organizations, as well as activist during the Hong Kong umbrella movement. She'd be like, oh, we should start an organization helping Ukrainians and Eastern Europeans as a well-organized community that they can connect with each other, help Ukrainians in Ukraine. So several work we do is we carry donations for Ukrainians, as well as we help Ukrainians to find a home in other countries. That is also another department under our organizations. We also help spreading the protests and rallies in Taiwan, around other countries as well. And we also held, I think, a protest in Taiwan. Over thousands of people attended that protest. We also being featured on CNN and the Washington Post. So yeah, that's a little bit about the organizations and how we started and how it's still going on right now. And more people start to join and donate to the Ukrainians. So yeah, that's a little bit about what's going.
That's amazing. And that was all before you even came here. So you're making things happen over there. And did you, like when you were applying for schools, did you talked about all those things that you were doing and they were like, oh my God, yeah, we want to get you over here. You're doing so many things.
Yeah, I feel like applying for schools is like, you know what you're doing, you know what you want to learn from that school and what resources you want to get from that school. I feel like trying to get yourself in is not the idea I'm really looking for. I'm just trying to like, save myself a space, and I feel like Canada is the best space for me. People are very welcoming to international students, and I feel like I have a possibility here, working with students from other countries, a diverse culture here. So yes, that's a little bit about my mentality when I apply to schools, because I know a lot of students, they trying to involve in organizations or volunteer work for the sake of applying for schools, but that is not my mentality here.
Yeah. That's for sure. People might be like, oh, I got to volunteer here. They'll check off a box and it'll look good, but obviously you're doing things just for the right reasons and because you actually want to do it. I just want to make sure your microphone's pointing towards there a bit.
Yes.
There we go. So that's pretty cool, and it's nice that you came to Canada and Toronto. This is definitely, it's very international here. So it's probably, I wonder if it's the most diverse city in the world as possible, because people are from everywhere.
Yes.
And you were saying this is your first time seeing snow?
Yes, this is my first time seeing snow. My first time seeing people from all around the world. Because in fact, in Taiwan, everyone see on the road is like either Asian, Taiwanese, some of them from like Southeast Asian, mostly but this similar cultural background.
Yeah.
But here, the first time I land here, I called my mom. I was like, wow, people are all from different countries. Because when I was back in Taiwan, I worked with people from Russia, student leaders from the US, but online. So I don't feel like, oh, I'm actually working with them and I don't see them, and I don't feel the cultural shock. But I'm here, I was like, wow, like everyone, there are from African American community, they're from Asian American community, there are people from other countries. So it was definitely a really, very amazing cultural shock here, and I've definitely learned a lot in these cultural differences. Well, a lot of my friends are Indians, or Pakistanis, or Asians, or Caucasians. All of them are from different parts around the world.
That's so cool. Yeah, that must be so interesting. So I'm sort of used to that in Canada, but yeah, like I went to Japan for a couple of times for work, and yeah, almost everybody's Japanese, and so if you're looking like me standing there, you're sort of like, you stand out a bit, and so kind of actually you feel, I guess, kind of cool, because I had a friend, Dennis, who right after university he went to teach in Korea English, and then he moved to Japan. He was there for like 20 years, and he didn't like coming back here because he was just a regular person there, but he was the blonde guy who speaks Japanese and stuff, so like kind of unique. He had like a superpower. So whenever he would come back here, we'd go to bars, he'd be looking for the Asian people to talk to, because he's like, I'm done with Canadian women kind of thing. But he also found that it's a culture, like it's different than if you're raised in Asia than if you're Asian but raised here kind of thing. So he found that to be different as well. So, but now he's living in Texas with a Japanese wife. So there you go. So that's kind of cool. And now you're meeting people from all around the world. That is very interesting. I've never been to Taiwan. And so I guess, like, when did you start learning English there?
I started learning English when I was like 3 years old because I have like really strict parents, Asian parents stereotype that is actually true. My mom really, she really values in my learning and like the process of my learning, I guess. And she feel like English is, the language you need to learn. And if you want to like walk out and like communicate with people around the world, you need to learn English. You need to know the basic skills. That is the bare minimum of, working outside and willing to, go outside and introduce yourself to the other people from other countries. So also like not only learning English itself, but also like on my organizational work. Every time I just call my mom and I share all my work stuff with my mom, and she will give me suggestions. So I feel like family is a really big part of I feel like my work and all my life and stuff.
That's good. You're lucky because a lot of people, their parents don't understand what you're working on, or they actually push you down, like, oh, stop, trying to make a difference, or you're wasting your time, just do this kind of thing. But it sounds like they're very. Did your mom work in like this kind of stuff? It's like, or
she's more like a freelance worker, but I know there are a lot of Asian parents in Taiwan. They'd be like, oh, you need to be a doctor, you need to be a lawyer, you need to go to medical school or stuff. But for me, my mom said you can do anything, but you have to be the best of it. So that is my mentality of my family. So if I'm like into work, let's say for example, one of my journalism work, we all know journalism doesn't pay well in general in North America. Mom telling me that go for it. If you're interested in it, go for it. I'm also interested in finance technology, economics. Mom will tell me if you're interested in economics, trying to combine your work with journalism, create a new thing, create a new path for yourself, and just live your life, enjoy your passions, and go for it. That's just my mentality of my family.
That's good. I like that because you definitely. I've learned that you should go after your passions because life is short, and you'll wind up like, oh, why did I work on this thing just to make money for 20 years or something? Like it's you can always make money in different ways, and especially now with online stuff and you're into finance, so I'm sure you can figure out ways to make money online or whatever you're working on, and then go after your passions, because then every day you're waking up going, oh my God, I want to work on this, not like, oh God, I just got to work for 8 hours and then get away from my job. So I'm glad she's pursuing that for you, or pushing you to do that, and I'm glad you have sort of figured out some things you're passionate about, because I'm looking back on my life, I'm like, oh man, why didn't I go to film school or music school or all these different things? And you can still always do things, but that you can come in if you want. We're just filming it's a popular building here with different rooms, different libraries, and people just come down and study and stuff. And so like you're so passionate about all your stuff that you were saying you were up late on Saturday night working on it and stuff. You weren't out partying, and so like what kind of stuff are you working on like currently?
So there are 2 things I'm currently working on right now. So later I will have a startup meeting. We're trying to do like a little platform. I'm not sure if everyone know about Eventbrite. This is like a platform for like tickets or event promotions, and we're trying to create another version for that, but more like an events level. So say for example, you have a search engine, you can put some keywords on it, and then we'll come up with the resources of venues. Because personally, as international students here in Canada, I'm trying to find, say for example, business events. And I search on Facebook, and it all comes out with all these irrelevant events. I don't want to go to, or I'm not interested, but I want to go to like business event and like actually networking with people. So if I type on like business event or networking, then it could come up with all these venues and resources I can use, or even like business startup accelerators that I can reach out to. So that's some of the goals I'm currently working on with my friends here in U of T. Another one is EQUUS. So this is a non-governmental organization. So I just started a few days ago with my Turkish friends here in U of T. We're trying to work with the United Nations, as well as one of our members. She's closely worked with the women issues or feminism issues with United Nations. So we're planning to go on a trip to Geneva, Switzerland, on issues of indigenous community. So that is what I'm currently working on. But as well as working on my life here, trying to reorganize myself, because here there are a lot of things happening, especially party culture. Party culture is not something I'm familiar with back in Taiwan, because I have strict parents. I never go to parties. But here I learned something about like enjoying life. Because when I was back in Taiwan, I just spent like hours and hours working and studying. But I feel like party or just enjoy life in general, go out with your friends, is also part of life. And you need to know how to balance it between work and study, as well as leisure yourself, and give yourself some space or personal space to enjoy life in general. So this is a really huge cultural shock I learned here, especially from my friends in different countries. Like, Nicole, you need to sit down, give yourself a space. I know you work a lot on different organization stuff, but you need to, have a space or have time for yourself and enjoy life, because you deserve that.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's just about figuring out what's right for you, because a lot of people say, oh, you know, you work too hard, you should just go and party or just go and whatever. But if that's not what you enjoy, you don't have to. There's no reason that just going to a party is any better. Like, you know, you might just feel better when you're like, hey, I'm working on something, I'm making things happen, because that's how people succeed, I think. Like, I don't think Mark Zuckerberg was sitting at Harvard just partying all the time. He's like, no, I'm going to build a website and I'm going to make Facebook or whatever. So, or Jeff Bezos was like, he wasn't partying every night. He's out, you know, working on his Amazon, and then you can benefit from having a successful life. Because I think, you know, you can party for a few years and go to bars, whatever, but that's a normal life that everybody can do. But if you're like doing something successful and you're going to Geneva with your friends or something, like I'd rather do that and be giving a talk or something and then going out for drinks that night and talking about what you did. Like, to me, that would be more interesting partying than just, hey, a bunch of us are going out and getting hammered at a bar that anybody can get into. So, you know, I would say just, figure out what's right for you. Don't let people necessarily tell you, oh, you're working too hard. You should, you know, if you liked staying up late on your projects last night, that's amazing. But yeah, definitely, you know, also enjoy life, because, you know, being in school and being a first-year student, that's a unique time in your life that you'll never get back, you know. You know, maybe you'll wind up being a professor or something, but just, you know, I was just realized, you know, just sitting here, I was like, oh my God, I remember being in a dorm when I was in school, and it's still the best time of my life. Like, just walk down the hall and your friends are there, and go to the study room and like, oh my gosh, hey, you're down here, kind of thing. Like, it's just so magical. So, I mean, I wish there was a way to just bottle that and let it never stop, kind of thing, but I'm glad you're enjoying it. And it's also inspiring to see all the things you're working on, like startups. So I guess, like, you know, the Eventbrite site, you've met people that know programming and coding, kind of thing. Is that, and then you've got this idea, and they can make it like practically happen.
Yes, I've met a friend. He's in math physics major, and he have a bunch of, you know, ideas coming up, web extensions, where he's working on programming and all these different projects. And it's because I love talking to him on campus, and he always, you know, have the new ideas and get shared to me, and I was trying to like organize that for him. So that's, you know, and people from computer science major or people from programming majors, because personally I cannot program, I cannot do coding. I'm more like social science or like humanities students. So I love to see people from different fields, and we can always collaborate together and make something happen.
Yeah, I mean, you can't, what I've realized is you can't be an expert in everything. You wouldn't have time or whatever. So yeah, if you can be like, hey, I know what a website should be or like whatever, and then you can find somebody who can make it happen, that's, I mean, that's amazing. I almost want to come down here and start being like, okay, I got an idea for this, who can make this happen, kind of thing. But it's hard to, I mean, I guess in a school environment, it's easier to meet people that are smart and working on things. But in regular life, it's like, where do I find a computer programmer without getting scammed? You know, just going to Facebook and it's like, oh, I'll build your website or whatever. You know, there's a lot of nonsense that, so I'm glad you're assembling your team of good people, kind of thing. And then as you're working on your things, the good people will find you too. They'll be like, oh, look at Nicole's working on this, and hey, do you want help? Or you can go to big businesses, you can get bought out by Amazon or whatever, and make Nicole's events.com, and then you can have your $1 billion, and then you can, I don't know, just help the world. You'll be the Oprah of activism, kind of thing. Yeah.
Also, at the same time, I'm working on journalism, we call this independent journalism, where we don't work specifically for an organizations or work for a company, but as well as like we all focus on like, you know, human rights violations happening around the world. It's sort of like activism journalism, helping people or speak out for these people. So that's also, I wouldn't say that's my career, but that's something I'm passionate about. I want to keep working on it in the future, as well as trying to figure out the problem to solve political polarizations. People say, for example, if you're in Republicans or if you're Democrats, you focus on your own, you look at the TV channels that supports specific political party or specific political ideology. You're basically being locked in your echo chambers, and you're not willing to stand outside of your community and talk to people about issues, or to basically listen to people's opinions. So that is also what I want to do as a journalist, to help people to learn about ideas or opinions from other side, and, you know, to create a world and inclusive environment of all kinds for all. So that is also one of my goals for my passion.
That's a good goal, because it's hard for people to look at both sides. Like, it's much easier to decide, I am right, I'm completely right, the other side is completely evil, they're awful. It takes somebody intelligent and with the critical reasoning skills to be able to go, okay, you know, I'm leaning on this side, but I can see where they're coming from. They're not evil necessarily, like there's another side to this, kind of thing. But even if you suggest that, sometimes people are like, oh, you're other-siding it. You're saying, you know, there's always another side. And like, it's like, what? So yeah, it's very difficult to get people to sort of open up. But I'm glad, because I think that's the problem, you know, on both sides, obviously, that it's difficult to see the other side and try to go, okay, well, maybe they're not evil. Maybe they just have a different background or a different reason or whatever. So hopefully you can do that. Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of thing I like to talk about too, but I mean, it's like anything online, you're gonna, you know, once you take a side or even suggest that there's two sides to something, you're gonna be attacked by people. But
yes, true.
I mean, you can't let people stop you from doing what you believe in. You just sort of find your tribe of people that are like, oh, I see what you're saying, or even if they don't agree with you, they find you interesting, and you keep doing your thing and try to make a difference. Because I want to assume that most people in the world are decent people and doing their best to help themselves and help other people, and hopefully we can all. It's also, I find it's easier to get along with people in real life. Like, it's easy on Twitter or online just to be, you're right, I'm whatever, yes. I'm right, you're wrong, and when you don't see a face. So yes, you can't let all of that madness. You know, maybe we should go visit Elon Musk, and you can ask him if you can help with Twitter and with your little team of people and stuff. Yeah, so are you even, like, what are you studying here? I don't even, have we even talked about what you're studying?
Yes, so in year 2, this is a really special system. So in first year, we don't have to decide our majors. We have to go through a bunch of courses. We call it prerequisite courses. But in second year, my intent majors are double major in economics and international relations with minor in digital humanities. So in first year, I need to take a bunch of courses that is related to, say, for example, Eco 101 or Math 133. That is specifically the prerequisite courses for our second year major. So that's what I'm going for. There's also a reason behind how I choose my major. International relations, I'm a journalist. I'm in love with politics and everything about politics, and I also work with the political parties back in Taiwan. So I love international relations. That's why I go for it. As well as economics, I do research on finance technology. We call this fintech. So that's also kind of related to finance, commerce, economics, digital humanities. I've always loved a combination between like digital, like technology with like humanities, social science, trying to combine all of them, as well as what I'm doing currently right now, the startup. We're trying to combine the technology platform as well as people's need, you know, humanities sides of it. So that's why I choose digital humanities for this, my major, my studies here in year 2.
Interesting. I wonder if that's a new, I've never even heard the term digital humanities. It must be a fairly new thing. So I guess that's like combining, like figuring out how to use internet and digital things to actually help people, kind of thing. True. Right. So, and that's, well, that's a good combination with all your computer science friends that can actually make things happen. That's so cool. Have you, reached out to, the Toronto Star, the Globe and Mail, like local journalism outlets to, I don't know, maybe intern or help them or meet journalists here, kind of thing? Yeah,
sure, definitely. That's something I'm currently looking for, because I'm currently thinking about starting organizations on human rights issues, say, for example, the warfare, the Ukraine warfare, or the Iran revolutions issues. So I'm trying to look out to local journalism, like local journalists here in Canada, like what I was in Taiwan. Because I remember the first time I met my partner, it was in a Taiwan International Journalism's from Reporters Without Borders. It's a conference about Hong Kong issues in Taiwan. And that is the first time I met my co-founder, Carrie Chung. She's super famous on, Hong Kong issues, and she always interview people, also help people from, different human rights violations issues. So I'm just looking for the opportunity here to meet a journalist in Canada and actually work with them or intern in their outlets to help them out.
Very cool. I'm sure they'll be very receptive, and if there's any journalists or people who own newspapers or TV stations or radio stations, contact her. I approve right here, and I'm coming along as her assistant. I'll be like carrying her bags and cameras or something. I don't know how to get involved. That's so cool. And I keep saying, oh, have you done this yet? It's like you've been here a month, so I think you're doing all right. But it's already November. It's already cold. What happens? Do you have plans for the, once it's the holidays? I guess you can do exams soon, and then you've got like a couple of weeks off or something.
Yes. I'm currently looking for conference opportunities. So there's something called Youth Opportunities, and that the specific platforms help a lot of students who want to reach out to opportunities outside their countries or inside of their country. So I'm currently looking for conference opportunities on that website and see if I get any chance to, go outside or go overseas and go to conferences in other countries. Because in Canada, when I was back in Taiwan, if you go to Europe, or like Switzerland or Belgium, like it's just miles away. But in Canada, you can having 270 Canadian dollars fly to like the U.S. or to other places in Europe. So I feel like that's an advantage I'm having in Canada. I don't have to waste my time, staying. Well, I mean, staying here is a good option for sure, but I want to do like a little bit more than that. Yeah.
For sure, that's the thing. It's very easy to come. I mean, I don't think I left school, like my campus, for 4 years, and it's like, wait, what a waste of time. Like, not a waste, but there's so much to see. It's interesting because normally in Canada we're like, oh, it's so hard to fly anywhere. Like if you're in Europe, you can fly 10 minutes to anywhere for $10, and you're like, now you're in Greece, now you're in Italy, kind of thing. So in Canada, it's still a bit far to fly places, but I guess it's easier than Taiwan, because every time I look into, I'm going to visit a friend in Vietnam or something, it's like, that's 24 hours to get there. Like it's a big deal. So that's great, and I love conferences too. I just realized that recently. Like I went to a podcast conference a few years ago, and I'm like, I love this. Like just because it's when you're a grown-up, it's kind of the closest you can get to being on campus and just having friends in your dorm. It's like everybody's there with their lanyard, and you can go up to say hi to anybody, like say hi, and you're all there for a common purpose. And I was interviewing people at the podcast conference and stuff. So that's what I'm looking for now. Like, do I go to a Tony Robbins conference, or do I go to something about? I'm trying to think of like what conferences would be related to my interests. Like VidCon would be for TikTokers and stuff. But I'm not. I like pop culture and stuff, but I'm not that interested. I need to see like people talk about comic books, but I like the kind of things you're working on where they're helping people and you're all working together. So, yeah, I want to find so I can relate to that. So and see that's cool. Like a lot of people might be like, yeah, I'm just gonna go party for the holidays or just go to bars, but you're like, no, I want to find a conference. I want to advance myself, which is so smart because it seems like time. I got tons of time. I'm only in first year and everything, but I mean, you're already in November. In a month, it'll be the half of the year, and 4 months then that's your first year gone, right? So you got to take advantage of this time when you can meet with anyone and you have all the possibilities and make life happen.
I remember there's one conference that's called Immigrants in Tech Summit. It's organized by Scale Without Borders, and there's one speaker called Tarek. He's the founder of Peas by Chocolate. He's, I think it's a Syrian refugee. He came to Canada, I think it's another province, opposite side of Canada, and he came here with nothing. He lost everything, and he came here as an immigrant here in Canada with his family, and restarted chocolate factories and trying to promote ideas of anti-war and peace for people here in Canada, as well as people a refugee here in Canada and Syria and all these issues. So I was kind of inspired by him because he was also an immigrant. He was like 17 or 18. He doesn't have anything here. He doesn't know about the language and stuff, but he grew himself and he tried to advance himself and create all the possibility here. And now he's the CEO of Peas by Chocolate. And I also met a lot of people, networking in general in conferences, people from Ukraine, people from Eastern Europe, people from Asia, where have the same cultural background as I am. We all share different ideas or common interest on several things, or technology, or are all looking for a job, for example. So we all share these connections here in Canada.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool. Because that's the thing, like, once you're grown up and stuff and you're trying to make friends and network and stuff, it's like most people just have their own little boring lives, and it's hard to meet people that are interesting. But when you've got an interest like this and you can reach out to anybody, hey, I'm an activist, I'm doing this, and you're all making things happen, it's just so exciting. It's more interesting than just meeting people for coffee or something and talking about nothing kind of thing. So I love that. I'm sure you'll be doing that all your life kind of thing, but it's so cool that you're doing it now. Because I'm sure like a lot of your fellow students here just must be like just doing their studying and then going to the bar, going for like they're not doing as much as you are. Do you find, or are there people like you that are out there all the time?
Yes, but I feel like there's an idea here because I've talked to several of my friends who want to do so. Say, for example, one of my friends in astrophysics field of study, and she has a hard time finding networking and stuff. And I feel like sometimes you don't need to start an organization to show that you're interested in a certain passion, or you don't need to execute an idea. Say, for example, my friend, the math and physics department, you have a bunch of ideas but haven't applied it in real life. I would just say if you have that passion, go for it. Trying to give yourself sometimes 2 or 3 years to explore or fully research on your passion. And then stand outside on the workplace and show it to everyone. So it's not necessary that you have to start an organization at 13 years old or 15 years old. That is not necessary. Yeah. If you have a passion, if you know what you're doing, and that's all right.
Yeah, I was even thinking about that today because I always thought, you got to start your own thing and stuff, but you don't always have time for that. sometimes something's already been built. Like there is Facebook now, so it makes more sense. Okay, I'm going to work for them and build a platform rather than I'm going to sit in my dorm trying to build a new Facebook. Like you've only got one life. Like you know, if something's already built, you need to keep building on it. Like it's not like, you know, there's all these books from the medieval times. Well, build on that. You don't need to say, okay, I'm going to invent my own language now and start to write. Like, yeah, you can build on other things, and maybe that's a way to affect more people or join an existing political party or whatever, rather than, okay, I got to start my own organization, because all of that is a lot of work. So, yeah, I mean, I guess you'll find what works, but it's always exciting when you see somebody who does, like Sarah Blakely, who invented Spanx, and she made $1 billion. And but you know, there's a lot of people that just, you know, the woman who became you know, head of Star Wars or whatever, she's like, you know, which is a producer over the years, and then she takes over for George Lucas kind of thing. So she didn't make Star Wars herself, but she became big.
Yeah, I feel like, build upon something is something I always tell my friends or, you know, young teenagers who want to like start an organizations or trying to find their own pathways. Say, for example, Instagram. Instagram is an open resources for everyone. Some might use Instagram as their personal profile. That is also fine. But if you want to, you know, well, I mean, spread awarenesses of several issues or build your own sort of like brands. Like myself, I built my brand as like fintech entrepreneur or a journalist, and I can reach out. And also because of algorithm, they like sort of match you with people who have like similar interests and stuff. So you can actually meet someone on Instagram. Say, for example, one of my Russian friends on Instagram, I met him solely on Instagram and didn't know him. And he worked in a political party in Russia, super interesting background. He's also like 17, 18 years old. I connect him through Instagram. Also know a person from the US. She works for Republicans, and also met her on Instagram. So all these platforms online are open: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, on all these community events posted on Facebook. These are all open events. You can always search on opportunities or resource there, as well as some people ask me like, how do I create my own organization? So how do I find my passion? You know, just do a little bit of observation in life. So say, for example, one of my friends, he have all these ideas because of his conversations with people in daily lives. He spot a problems that is happening that bother him or his friends, and then he start working on that idea or start to combine, you know, his skills with that idea and create some things and make things happen. So that's
great. That's what they say. Yeah, like, you know, if there's some issue that you're like, I can't, how would I do this? Or that, like, there's a problem, then that's maybe something you should work on. You can be the solution. Like, I think that's how they invented Netflix. Like, I'm sick of, he just got some fine for returning his videotape late to Blockbuster. He's like, I don't want this. I'm going to come up with my own idea, kind of solve it. So do you have multiple Instagram accounts? Like, you've got, I don't know, your main one and then ones for your different organizations, and you've met different people through the different ones?
Yes, sure. So for other organizations, so say, for example, sometimes I'm serve as like PR, as like public relations manager. So I do have Instagram account, social media account under my Instagram, but mainly I use my own Instagram account as the algorithms allows you to, because I have already built like sort of followers, as well as my background and algorithm already like knows who to match me like with this common interest. So I mainly use my main account, but for other organizations, I also post for my organization as well, and I receive a bunch of feedbacks on issues. So when being a PR is also like an advantage to know what people actually think about organizations and reply to DMs and know about people's opinions. So I also grow a lot from that. So
okay, yeah, because I'm always struggling with, you know, my posts are kind of random. Like, here's an interview that I'm doing, here's an interview with a celebrity, here's a cartoon or a song. And so then for a bit there, I was like, okay, I should have a separate page as a foodie. So every time I post about my dinner, like, people are interested in that kind of thing. And then I'll have a separate page for music, and a separate page for comedy, and a separate page for, I don't know, like Ottawa events. But then it gets overwhelming, and I'm like, I don't want to spend time posting on 50 different pages. But on the other hand, it is good to have like a niche. Like I heard a podcast about, somebody started an octopus Instagram, and it's got a lot of these followers because people who are like octopi are interested in that page. But yeah, I guess there's a way to sort of combine things. Like, I can be the interviewer who likes entertainment, but also, you know, helping the world, and then maybe that's enough. And then you can just sort of see, because there's also, you don't really know necessarily what's going to take off. Like, I took off with my video about talking about my coffee. I didn't think that was going to be the thing. So yeah, I guess it's difficult when you have like lots of different interests. You're like, do I need a different page for everything kind of thing, so that people who like music will find it? I don't know. I guess you just keep experimenting. But I find that it's a pain to have like more than one, because you got to check messages different places, and then you're like, oh, did I post this video there or there? And then when you meet someone, so I mean Instagram, like, well, which one kind of thing. But yeah, So, but that's cool. So like, are you meeting all your connections from your main page, I guess?
Yeah, from my main page, but also receive sort of feedback on, other than all these work organizational conferences you attend, feel free to post, some of your daily lives, on your life in Canada, your life with friends, because people want to see you as a person on Instagram, not only just like a work robot, posting people, like things about conferences. Yeah, for sure, that's the main reason you have your Instagram account, but also sometimes I want to build like a brand of myself, so I want to show like different part of me, going out with friends and what I learned, some insights while going out with friends. You can always have these insights from different issues, not only just code conference. Just one time I go out with my friends, I start learning something, I observe about people's interactions, and I share it on Instagram to people, as well as the cultural differences. Because here in Canada, even like a little Halloween weekend or a little festival here can give me huge insights on cultural differences. We have something called Saints Ball happening, I think last night. The night before last night. It's like a charity gala we have in Trinity College. It's like an 84 years old tradition, super, super cool. But I also realized that, how people interact in the parties, or how people interact in these bowls are different from students in Taiwan, because people got like super awkward back in Taiwan. Students are not taught to be like being, stand out, to invite a girl to dance or something. But here people are, people dance, people, willing to walk out to a girl and say like, do you want to dance? Or people like willing to compliment on your dress. I receive over 4 or 5 compliments on my dress. You look so beautiful, you look stunning. But back in Taiwan, people might think about it, but they're not. They're too shy to, tell you about that. So it's a little cultural differences I find in every single events I attended. So it doesn't necessarily be conferences, but any single daily life events you can share with your audiences. My audience is mostly from Taiwan. Some are from Canada, my friends here in Canada, in UFT. But I also want to let my audience from Taiwan know what happened in Canada. You can take your Taiwanese friends here to Canada through Instagram. That's also a cool thing that can be achieved from these platforms. Yeah.
That's the thing, yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's a huge, people love hearing about cultural differences, or like I wouldn't have known that there's that difference at the parties and stuff, and so you have this unique perspective that you can go, and that's the thing now too, like, even just being able to film with your phone is pretty new. Like, it was only like 10 years ago that I was like typing Facebook statuses, and then one day they were like, I think maybe it's when my iPhone got, like, 'cause they didn't even have video capability at the beginning, it was just photos. And then when I was able to film, like, I'm gonna film a video status where I'm talking about something that just happened. And now you can literally, you can just post, and people in Taiwan can see what you're doing right now, or like, it's such an amazing thing. And if you can have that as your niche, like all of Taiwan is like watching you doing it, like that's kind of cool. And it also applies to like any different culture wants to see the different cultures. Like Russell Peters is a big comedian, and he just talks about all sorts of different ethnicities, and he has a whole joke about, I saw him in Montreal in the summer, and he asked somebody their name, like he pointed to some Asian guy. I guess he does it in every show, but he'll point to some Asian guy, what's your name? And he's like, John. He's like, your name is not John. Like, what's your real name? Like, he'll make a whole joke about how everybody chooses their English name kind of thing. And so it's definitely a popular thing to, maybe you'll be on CBC with a show talking about cultural differences or something. Because I remember even 10 years ago, I met with a morning show host, and he was like, if you want to pitch some things, like anything to do with diversity. I'm like, diversity? What have I got, kind of thing. But you're like, you're the perfect person for that, coming from there and exploring Canada and stuff. So you can do so many things. It's all very exciting. So don't ever feel bad that, I'm not out partying, I'm working on stuff, because it looks like you've got huge missions to accomplish while you're here, kind of thing. So I don't want to keep you too long. I'm sure you've got other things to do today. Like you were saying, you've got meetings all. I'm like, meeting? What are you doing all day on a Sunday? But you're like, well, I got my startup and I got my activism. I'm like, geez. And I was just gonna be like, maybe I'll go for brunch or something. Like,
no, it's fine. Always good to chill around. I love to chill. I miss all the time that I can like chill as a child. Nothing to do. But as I said, you can always get insight from these daily little things. As you work with, you collaborate with people, you interview people. Even like in a restaurant, you interview people in a restaurant, you get new things, you learn new things every day. So
no, that's why I do these kinds of things, right? Like it's like even just doing the interview, it'd be weird. It'd be harder for me, like if I wasn't doing interviews, I'd be like, hey, you just want to talk to me for half an hour? It's like, why? What are we talking about? But here, it's like we're doing this talk, then we can. There's people around the world now that can learn from all the amazing things you've done, and I get to talk to somebody and learn about this kind of thing. So that's why, people like, oh, you just interview celebrities. Like, no, I mean, I do celebrities at film festivals and stuff, but I mean, everybody's got a story. I like to hear just what people are thinking about, and yeah, it's like, that's why I do carry my microphone usually, and if I'm just getting a shawarma, I'll like, here, tell me about your shawarma business, or if I was at the women's show in Ottawa a few weeks ago, and I interviewed people about, like a woman who wrote a little book about how to brush your teeth for kids, or you know, a woman who started her own computer tech company. Like, I just love hearing stories and what people are doing, and hopefully I can help them get their little message out, and just do my thing. And so I don't know.
I feel like discovering stories is like the main spirit of journalism, as well as like right now we have all these resources. There's some where it's called civic journalism, where all of us could be the journalist. We can always interview people, know about their stories. I remember one the professor I worked with back in Taiwan. Her name was Wani, Professor Wani, and she told me about the first time I met her was through an interview. It was like a casual interview we're doing right now, and we talk about like her organizational work and on USR, University Social Responsibility. She helped the students, underprivileged students in Taiwan, in and all these different places, and she helped them recovering from a typhoon disasters, and help them bring English and bring different culture or different schoolwork back in these schools. And how she contributed, I was like, wow, I learned a lot, and then that's how I started to be inspired and start my organizations. Also met a film director back in Taiwan. I also featured on a news on Yahoo a few days ago because of that. He's like a 3D director, and he also is an award-winning director, super famous, but he chooses to, have like to help underprivileged children and, show these beautiful Taiwanese cultures or art crafts to these indigenous communities or students from underprivileged areas. So I was like super inspired by these people. So discovering stories, I feel like it's a big part of my work and how that like makes me who I am right now. So
yeah, and I mean, humanity learns through stories. That's how, before even written culture, people would tell stories because that's how people remember it. And then, and that's what movies are. Like, we're hardwired to hear stories, and that's how you remember things better. That's what the Bible is. It's okay. How do you remember all these rules? Well, we're going to tell you stories, and that's how you remember these things. And my coffee video, people just kept commenting like, oh my God, I love your story. I love all the details. I love, I like telling stories too. And you remind me of my friend who tells stories like that. I'm like, it's all about the stories, right? So it's like, it's story time. And that's, because I keep trying to think of, I like writing music. I like drawing. I like acting. And it's like, but what's the common thread? It's like, telling stories, So that's what I try to do. Even with my cartoons, I'll draw a cartoon. I'm telling you a story kind of thing. Everybody likes a story. It gets you out of your head and maybe cheers you up kind of thing. And then, we get to hear everybody's story. And I think it makes people feel less alone in the world to see other people's stories, go, oh, right, they're struggling, or what are they working on, or, how can they inspire me? And because I think a lot of people just, it's easy to sort of get in your own head and feel sad and alone and depressed, like, 'cause you don't know what else is going on in the world. But if you can connect people through stories and everybody can feel less alone, that's what I'm trying to do a little bit.
Yes, so it was like so nice to meet you here. Like knowing it's a community who also interview people, journalists. I feel like community is a big part of my life, as well as in Taiwan as well as Canada. So it's so nice to meet you, knowing someone who's like also doing the same thing and trying to discover stories. And I feel like we have some sort of connections, and thank you so much for being here and just like interview me, and like I feel like we can all work on projects in the future.
Awesome. I'm excited to see where you go, and for sure I hope we can collaborate again and film more interviews, talk about what your latest things are, and then people will be like, oh, I remember she talked about her Eventbrite thing, and now it's like the biggest thing in the world, or whatever. It's awesome. So thank you for inviting me to this Harry Potter-like thing, and have a good Sunday with the rest of your amazing projects. And we will, I'm sure we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for watching this. Thank you so much, and see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.